Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today is a time for another tournament tutorial, namely Elixir. So many of you have heard that there are probably going to be some big changes coming to tournaments, and I did talk a little bit about that in my other videos and certainly posted a lot on the forums. So this video may or may not be redundant because, well, who knows when these changes are going to come to life and in which shape and form, if at all. So in the meantime, on live servers, we have the existing tournaments, and I certainly still play them. And who knows, maybe next iteration of the same tournaments will still be the same, or maybe we'll get similar or the same matchups in the new tournaments when they're going to be implemented. So yeah, it may still turn out to be useful, especially considering I'm still playing this tournament regardless, so might as well make the video. So that's a disclaimer right there. And so Elixir. Elixir tournaments are great. I love them. They're very easy. They're easy both in terms of the losses. Not as easy as, let's say, Steel, but still pretty manageable, and yeah, compared to some other ones. And the other important aspect, you don't really need to think a lot, unlike some previous tournaments what we featured here, namely Scrolls, and even Silk to a degree. The variety of, not so much matchups, but the troops that we field against our opponents is fairly limited here, and it's very easy to master. Well, if there's the right word for that, there's not much to master here. So that's going to be a much shorter video, I assume so, and we'll just try to run quickly. I'll explain very briefly in the beginning basically what the setups are. It's very simple, and then we'll just go through that and see what our losses are going to be. All right, so without further ado, so let's get started. And here's our province number 1. And again, before we jump there, I'll just open something here. And what you will see, and again, the first, as usual, first 10 provinces are not quite the same matchups as the other ones. In terms of our overall setup right now, so what do I have? I have Martial Monastery at level 23, so that's extra 24% health boost. I do have Unleashed Unit Upgrade, so that's another 25% health. I have Magnificent Mage Multiplier, so that's plus 50% damage to mages. I have plus 50% damage boost to light range and enlightened light range, so there's that. 2 of those are not really needed for this tournament. I mean, I have them out for other reasons. And what else do I have? And of course the Fire Phoenix, level 10 or evolution 10, and it's fed, of course, so that's another 50% damage to all units. And all my combat Ancient Wanderers, I mean the ones that give damage boost to individual unit types, are all win levels 11 to 12. So, having said that, the main units that okay, so let's take a look here at our opponents. Okay, so our opponents here are actually a fairly representative matchup. So we have 3 light melee, we have 1 light range, so these are the units that we will be seeing most often. That's our good matchups. And 1 counter unit in this case, and counter units here generally are Orc Generals, or eventually mutated Orc Generals at 3 stars. And that's the heavy melee. So, what we're going to be using in this tournament? We're going to be using all kinds of heavy range units. And that's what I'm saying, this tournament is great, at least if you're playing as an elf, as this city is, because you have excellent options here. You have base or basic unit in the barracks for elves. That's a granite golem at 3 stars, and that's a great unit. That's actually the most useful unit to me from the barracks. That's actually the unit that I do train, the only unit that I do train in the barracks, because these are actually good, even comparing to other specialists that you can get from mercenary camp and training grounds. So here's our base unit for heavy range. It's kind of good against light melee, it's good against light range, not spectacular. So let's see what we have there in terms of the boosts or bonuses. So against light melee it has plus 80% damage bonus on top of everything else we have, which is excellent. I mean, unfortunately it doesn't have any defense or health, well, I guess defense bonuses against light melee, but it doesn't really need to, because, well, it's a range unit, and against melee unit, yeah, by the time melee units get to them, yeah, it won't need really any defense boosts. And against light range, it does have not amazing damage boost, but again, we have a lot of damage boosts elsewhere, plus 20%. But on the other hand, it has 50% damage reduction from light range, and that again makes a lot of sense, because range against range, and especially the light range that goes first, light range are going to hit them with the first volley at least. There's kind of no avoiding that really, and that's where the damage reduction actually makes a lot of sense and works really well. So that's a great unit against both. And then we have two specialists, one what we use more often in this particular tournament, because we have more light melee rather than light range. That's going to be Frog Prince. And again, we won't be using it really against light range. It has plus 40, minus 40. It's not terrible, but realistically, if you try to field frogs against light range, they are not doing amazing. Let's put it like that. However, if you have light melee against you and nothing else, or almost nothing else, I think I mentioned this before, frogs are just amazing. So they have plus 90% damage boost against light melee. They have 70% damage reduction from them. And remember, this is the range versus melee matchup, so they're gonna hit melee units hard with the extreme bonus, attack bonus, for quite a while before light melee even gets to them, and even if they manage to get to them, they still have 70% damage reduction. So yeah, light melee is not gonna have a great time here. So there's that. That's our light melee specialist. And another light heavy range unit that we're going to be using here is Senior Orc Strategist. And that's the opposite of the frog. It's not exactly amazing against light melee. It has a damage reduction at 40%, no damage boost. So again, that's kind of counterproductive. You want, when your range and your opponent is melee, you want to have damage boosts, and you don't really care as much about damage reduction because you have an advantage there. This is the opposite. There's a damage reduction but no damage boost. However, against light range, these are great units again. Plus 70% damage, attack increase, which is great in itself, but then again, damage taken, as in reduction, is 80% reduction of the damage from a light range. Again, if you have not mostly, but pretty much only light range, then Orc Strategists are your unit. they take very little damage, they just obliterate light range. So there's that, and that's literally the 3 unit types that we're going to use and pretty much nothing else. And the way we're going to be using it is also very simple. So here's the rule that I'm going to be using here. If you see a mix of light range and light melee, even if there is just one of each, then we're going with the base unit, which is the golem. And it doesn't actually matter how many counter units are going to be there. That's actually one of the rare exceptions when even going against 3 counter units works really well. And I mean, you have a little bit more losses than usual, but very doable. The reason being, again, we'll take a closer look at the where is this thing? At the orc generals at the 3-star levels, but despite the fact that they're kind of counter unit in this tournament, they're terrible against heavy range, which we're going to use. So these are light melee specialists, and against heavy range, again, they're doing obviously better at 3 stars, but basically they are not amazing, to say the least, against heavy range. Not to mention melee against range matchup is going against them. So even though they're technically counter units, even against 3 of them, we're going to be doing just fine. So yeah, and that's the rule basically. You see mixed melee, light range, go golems. You only see pure light melee, and either one or no counter units, which is heavy melee. Then we go frogs. If we see only light range and some counter units, then we go orc strategist, and that's that. So that's pretty much all the strategy there is here. So let's just start clicking, and that's one of the tournaments that actually goes relatively quickly. So let's go. So mix here, we go golems. Again, mix here, golems. And we're going to be using a lot of golems here because in vast majority that's a mix. Well, that's actually an example of, okay, just light melee here and the counter unit. So here go frogs, they do very well here. Okay, and that's the pure light range and 2 counter units. That's our strategists, and they also do very well here. That's our matchup. So let's go. Okay, so mix there, golems. Again, so this one is, you see that we have like technically 3 counter units, but golems are gonna do just fine here. Take a look. Yeah, we did take some losses, but these are very mild, especially for 3 counter units. Golems again. That's frogs. Oops. So yeah, so overall, vast majority of encounters in this tournament, again, the way I play it with the boosts I have and the level of development I'm at, the vast majority of encounters here would be golems. Still quite a bit of frogs, not huge amounts, but some. Okay, so that's one of the matchups what we're not going to see later on after province number 10, and that's where we go with Poison Dryad. And they do very well against heavy melee. Yeah, I was saying like the frequency of different unit types that we are fielding. So yeah, vast majority golems, then we go still some noticeable number of frogs, but nowhere close to, yeah, again, Poison Dryads. That's not going to be happening in 10 plus provinces. Orc strategists we will see, but pretty much you have seen the only matchup where they're going to be used. That's 4 light range and 2 country units. They do appear, but not as common. Sorry, that would be frogs. Because just let me later, and you see frogs do really well here. That is not always the case. I think you've seen it in previous tournaments when you have even just light melee and some counter units. Frogs do not necessarily do amazing in those circumstances because that depends on what counter unit in this particular tournament there is. So in this case, as I said, there is a heavy melee, not to mention heavy melee specializing in exactly not heavy range. So frogs do really well here. But in some other tournaments, counter units such as mages, for instance, yeah, that's when frogs do not do really well and you want to go with just pure light melee matchups in order to use them. Okay, so where are we at? And you can see the amounts of losses are, again, we just started, but by and large, yeah, again, this one we can just go golems, just like that. That works just fine, even though you may think that something like Trance or Valorians would do well there. I mean, they do okay, but you might just as well go golems and not think about that because, yeah, there are very few losses. Yeah, that's unexpected. Quite a bit of losses there. Again, on a relative basis. Overall, that's one of the least, well, damaging tournaments if you want. Okay, that's another one for dreads. Yeah, that's the counter unit and golems will do right there. Yeah, not amazing, but hey, that's 3 counter units there, technically speaking. A mix, so golems. Another mix, some more golems. And golems. I mean, in all fairness, at that level of development and the boosts what I have, you literally can go just golems in all encounters, and you will do all right. You won't do as well as with the setup that I'm using right now because both frogs and orc strategists for the matchups what I'm using them for, they're just very good. Definitely better than just golems, but golems would win those matchups without big difficulties. So if you really don't want to think and just spam one unit type on autofight, at least if you're playing as an elf, golems definitely would work. Alright, and now we're moving towards province number 10, which means like from now on, all the matchups, that's the ones that are going to be repeating ad infinitum. So we may want to take a look at those. But as I said, the approach is still the same. If we see a mix, we go golems. We see only light melee and maybe some counter units. Well, usually it's 1 or 0. Then we go frogs. And if we see, I believe it's still just one matchup. Just light range and counter units, then we go orc strategists. And we haven't done orc strategist actually in a while. Yeah, so you see sometimes you can still see just one squad of pure light melee, and that's where the frogs are gonna be amazing. And alright, so we did frog twice in this province. Okay. And oops, frogs. That would be frogs, not strategists. And that's where we go strategists. So literally in terms of the losses, I would say the vast majority of losses that you will experience in this province, or in this tournament rather, you will get in that's exactly the matchup that's going to hurt you, especially later on, where you, at least I would go golems against 3 counter units and 2 light range, 2 light melee. We're going to win, but over time the losses here are going to be on the larger side. And again, like at that point in time, at 2-star provinces, that is definitely not something to write home about. Back in, let's say, Scrolls tournament, that would be probably our best losses. But here, that's the kind of the thing that will accumulate over time, because let's say fights like that, yeah, I see that's not a whole lot of in terms of losses, or like this one. Yeah, you see, that's all there is to it. So at least until they change the tournaments, that's one of the tournaments when you can rake pretty high scores because your losses are generally fairly low. So by and large, you might be constrained purely by the number of provinces. Yeah, you see, like, we have literally 0 losses whatsoever in this matchup. You will be constrained by a number of provinces that you have scouted and negotiated, of course. But yeah, that may change by the next Elixir Tournament, or it may not, who knows. But in the meantime, we are going towards... okay, so we are province number 15. And... Hill Golems. Nope, that would be frogs. And strategists. So that was a diverse province. Well, as much as diversity we have in the heavy range category. That's frogs. More golems. Yeah, another matchup which, at least at the higher star levels, will sustain some losses. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of struggling here to find the matchups where you actually will be losing troops. That's not as common in this tournament type. Yep, that's our 3 counter units matchup. Not too bad, 2 counter units. Yeah, that province is going to be on the expensive side, relatively speaking. Okay, that's going to be a good one. Boom, no losses. Nice. Okay. And 2 more until we have 20. So 19. And here comes 20. And that's done. All right, so let's see what kind of losses did we sustain in the first 20 provinces in 2 stars. All right, let's see. Okay, and that would be just 18 squads. That's pretty good. Especially if you want to go and check back the amounts of losses we did sustain in previous tournaments. That's where you would see some very different numbers there. Like 50, I think was it in scrolls, something like that. So here we only get 18. Alright, so, and that's the first 20. I'll make a cut here just to be consistent with our previous tournament videos. I will still do provinces 21 to 50 because, well, I am going to do them anyway. Might as well record them. So if you want to see distribution of losses again, you can skim over that video and I will provide again the numbers of losses at every 10 provinces from there on. And apart from that, that's it. So if you like the video, liked it, subscribe it to the channel, let me know in the comment what you liked, what you didn't like, and well, looking forward to seeing how the new tournament setup is gonna look like. It may or may not resemble anything we have today, but apart from that, I'll see you later. See ya.